The NBA draft has come and gone, and my goodness, what a draft it was. Some great talent, some head scratching decisions, some really good decisions, some trades that didn't make any sense for certain teams. It was a normal NBA draft. Let's just get right into it. I'm a Mavs fan. You can see that by the hat, you can see it by the shirt, you can see it by the everything. Cooper Flag, great pick. Mavs didn't need to do anything else. They win the draft, in my opinion. I might be a little bit biased on that, but getting the best player in the draft to my team, yeah, I'm going to feel pretty good about that. Fits right in for Dallas. It's going to be a good time. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, the actual video can begin. Tyler and Andrew, welcome aboard once again. Interesting draft. I mean, we tried to live stream it. This has been the story of the weekend. Just Wi-Fi slash cell service slash everything hating me. So that's always fun. But other than that, I mean, what was y'all's opinion? We kind of went through the first 10, 15 picks together, but other than that, I mean, it seemed like a pretty normal draft in terms of how everything went. Nothing crazy like we've been promised already this offseason.
I mean, it was, the big story, obviously, of those first 10 to 15 picks is going to be Ace Bailey. In that situation, it sounds like he's reporting today to the team, but the fact that, there's even any sort of that rift is fascinating because now you're a rookie, you're going into that situation, and the vets have seen how that played out. They're kind of looking at you like, okay, you're going to be committed to this team. Like, we know he's a good talent. That's why Utah said, hey, we don't care if he didn't want to come here. We're going to take him anyways. That'll be probably the most fascinating thing to watch out of the lottery stuff.
No, for sure. I mean, I'm right there with you. Obviously, he coming into the college season, he was at obviously projected to go top three with his teammate Harper, and instead causes this drama. Him and his agent caused the drama before the draft, and he dropped to five. Some people thought he was going to drop farther than that. People didn't know who was going to take the chance, and now he finds himself in Utah. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that whole situation, progresses through the offseason, especially throughout that entire rookie contract. I mean, I would be surprised at this point with the way it's starting out if he's going to finish that rookie contract with the Jets.
Yeah, I
Yeah, at
mean,
least not without more fireworks potentially, right, kid?
right. I mean, this is one of those. I'm okay with what Utah did because Utah. I mean, you look at their two picks on paper here. I mean, you get Ace Bailey and you get Walter Clayton Jr. Any other year, any other circumstances, we're talking about what an amazing draft this was for Utah. You got two great guards. You'll kind of figure out the logistics of everything else later, but talent wise, you got two really good guys. But with the whole Ace Bailey situation, the reason I think this works out for Utah is if he doesn't want to play at Utah, if he does, I'm going to sit out or do, well, you've got him now. You have that leverage in the situation. We've talked about this how many times with certain players when they want to leave or something like that. You've got to find a way to have some leverage to say, okay, if you don't want to be here anymore, we're going to find a way to get every asset available for you. And that's why I think Utah, even if this doesn't work out, you still have some positive you can take away from that.
For sure, for sure. I was gonna say too, there's a couple extra storylines in those top 10 picks. The one that stood out to me after the Bailey situation, Igor Devitt going to Brooklyn.
We'll get
We
into
were
Brooklyn
all,
in a minute. We'll get into
yeah, like that. That one was kind of a head scratcher, just because of. I'm not saying Devitt could be a bad player, but it's like, man, he didn't scream that that was a guy that I wanted to risk, especially with some of the guys that were taken behind him. I I felt there was better options there, so that was fascinating. And then something we gotta get into a little bit, Kate, in this as we go on is Toronto. The fans were not happy. You're telling us about that. That one might wind up being, and they already made a move after the draft too. So maybe some early repercussions from that pick.
Maybe we'll see what Toronto does because my goodness, I hope that what happened, what we all saw was just something else. But my goodness, it was funny. I'll just say that it was hysterical seeing Raptors fans just be like, "Really? We drafted this kid and he already doesn't want to be here." And I don't know if that's even what I don't know if it was hey, I made it to the NBA, I can't believe this, or is it I'm in Toronto now. Oh no, someone please help me. I don't know which one it was, but Dylan Harper going to the Spurs, you pair him up with Carter Bryant. Can the Spurs stop winning drafts? Can y'all stop being good at your job for like one draft, please? We're all trying to see what's going on here. We're all trying to build ourselves this. Oh, Spurs make another great draft pick. Dylan Harper, you expected. Carter Bryant, I think he'll fit perfectly with the Spurs. The young talent they continue to get. I mean, Tyler, we've talked about this how many times that they're coming. That is, I don't want to say a dynasty in the making, but they're the team on the horizon. You kind of look at, okay, they're going to get here one day. And once they arrive, it's not going to be fun for anyone for a long time.
Yeah, but they still got to get there, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see if they can fit together those puzzle pieces and be able to get done. Victor Wembanyama, when he starts taking that turn, ooh, it's going to be tough. So if you could surround him with those key guys, Dylan Harper could absolutely fit into that. Um, and I'm curious to see how they make him work. But yeah, you got to watch those Spurs. They got to get there first, but as they do, it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they'll get there. It's just a matter of what year will it be. Will they take that turn? But no, yeah, and obviously they traded for what was it Fox last trade deadline. So I mean
Yeah.
they got pieces there to get the job done. And you mix some veterans in there with a great young core. That's all what the Thunder did this year. So you'll see it take off.
Yeah. And then, Andrew, I'll just flip it right back to you. VJ Edgecombe going to the Sixers. You're the Sixer fan among us. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, this is a really exciting pick. I mean, obviously, again, you get passed on Ace Bailey. I think Ace Bailey is the better talented player. I think we'd all agree there. But again, the Sixers didn't want to deal with the drama. They wanted someone to come in ready, wanting to play, and that turned out to be Edgecombe. I think he's going to be a great two-way player, a fantastic defender, and a very aggressive guard there. To pair with Maxi on the defensive end, and a good setup there for your two guard situation. And I think, yeah, I don't see him starting day one of the season, but I mean, I think eventually by season end, I wouldn't see it. Wouldn't be surprised to see him take over a starting spot. Obviously, with the in the mix there would be Jerry McCain, your first round pick from last season, and then Quentin Grimes, who took off last year after getting him at the trade deadline. So those are your two competitions there for Edgecombe. So by season end, I would not be surprised to see him take over that starting role. And I think he's a very athletic player and he's going to be a very quick guard as well. That's going to keep him ready to go here at NBA pace.
Andrew, to add on to that a little bit, you typically in the NBA draft, you don't necessarily like to take the fit, the culture guy over talent when it's, down to the wire, especially on those top 5 picks. But I think Edgecombe's good enough to where you can make the case that, especially in Philly, he might ultimately fit what they do a little bit better, right? Like you're getting still good talent, but you're also getting a guy that you probably feel uh, fits your culture a lot better, right?
Yeah, that's something the Sixers desperately need. Obviously, after coming off a year where you missed the playoffs and you're battled through injuries throughout the entire season, you need some fun guys to come in there and kind of change that locker room mentality. And to your point, yeah, it's sometimes you do pass over that talent and go with a better fit, and that's what the Sixers did. And I agree with you 100%.
That as we make our way through the draft a little bit more, Colin Knippel goes to the Hornets. I think that's a good pick for Charlotte. It was a funny stat when we were watching it, and it's still funny that you have your top 5, 2 are from Duke, and 2 are from Rutgers. I have to get that one college basketball jab in there. Shout out to Rutgers for that. How did y'all not make a tournament? We'll never know. But you go from the Hornets, you go Wizards getting Trey Johnson, Pelicans getting Jeremiah Fears. Pelicans are another team that their draft picks are good. Fears, and you get Derek Queen as well, and the trade from Atlanta. That's great. It's how they did it that I think has rubbed everybody the wrong way and just been the absolute disaster that feels like it's coming down the line for New Orleans, where you trade your future, your 2026 pick unprotected to Atlanta. And for a New Orleans team that was decimated by injuries last year, you have no idea what they're going to look like. How many games will Zion play? Will he play even half a season? We don't know. With all the history he's had, maybe he'll get traded. We have no idea what the Pelicans are going to do. But now you don't have a backup plan. You don't have okay, if we have a nightmare season again, we at least have that pick to rely on. You don't have that now. That feels like a win now type of move for New Orleans, but New Orleans isn't in that position to be trading picks like that.
No, but New Orleans has operated that way for the past 4 or 5 years now where
They have.
they think they're in win now mode, and it just hasn't worked out that way. And I think the other part that kind of rubs New Orleans fans wrong about the Derek Queen situation is that yeah, he flashed some really big time upside. I think at Maryland, right? Of some of the things he could be, but then you start hearing the concerns about, um, his attitude towards conditioning and some of those things. It starts reminding you a little bit of Zion, and you're like,
Yes.
okay, guys, we can't fall back into the situation, especially you go 2 picks later to the Thunder with Sorber, a guy that it kind of fits a similar build to Derek Queen. Maybe Queen's got a little bit more upside in the scoring range right now in terms of what he can do with the ball, but in terms of hardcore defensive ability, finishing around the rim, he can pass. Like that guy might fit a little bit better with what you're trying to do compared to Derek Queen, especially when you got a guy already kind of like him, even more athletic than Zion. But I can see where New Orleans fans are saying, "Hey, why do we have to do this? You could have waited a little bit. You could probably got Sorber. Or at least made a different move there. That's just that one not puzzling, but I can see the concerns."
Yeah, it's one that doesn't make any sense to me at all. Again, a good player, and I know Andrew, I know Derek Queen is one of
Yeah.
the guys you were really high on. It's not a bad player. It's just a confusing trade to get him.
Oh, for sure. To your point about the unprotected pick, I mean, you look at next season, and especially after they make the trades before the draft as well. They get rid of C.J. McCollum, one of their better scorers. I mean, you're gonna look at this team next year and like you figure this team's gonna be back in the lottery. Like, so to give up an unprotected pick, I mean, obviously you don't know what the lottery's gonna fall, but you could end up number top 5 next year's draft. And you had what 7 they got fears at this year, and you could have waited till next season, got another top 5 pick with the way this roster's constructed, and really taken off in a few years. But yeah, instead you give up that 2026 unprotected pick. You bring in Derek Queen, and I worry about the fit even if they're all healthy. Like I don't know how Derek Queen and Zion Williamson are going to fit together. Like those two guys are, in my opinion, are similar in similar in size. I mean, obviously not Zion's more athletic. I think we all agree, but like those two are just gonna be a logjam. I feel like, and it's just gonna cause problems. So I don't know if maybe they're kind of this is their way of saying this is Zion's last chance, and maybe they're gonna move on from him here shortly if he can't get his act together this next season, and you'll see Queen take over for him or what? Because this didn't make sense when they made that trade. I thought they might be jumping the Spurs to potentially get like a Carter Bryant there in that spot. So I was shocked to see that.
Yeah, it's just we could go on and on. I don't understand what the Pelicans are doing. And speaking of teams that I also don't think they know what they're doing, the Brooklyn Nets. Why? Just
Oh,
that's the only answer I have for the only question I have, only word I have is why. I mean, we were literally all here watching this, and unfortunately, like I said, our live stream died on us. But literally, Tyler, you called it. You said, "Why is Igor Dimon here?" And then what happened
in the
10
pre-draft
in the
intros.
pre-draft intros? You said, "Why is he up here? Like, why are we talking about him like he's a top 10 pick?" And then we joked about it again. And then what happens? The Nets take him at 8, and so you go one guard. You look down at Nolan Traore, that's 2 guards. You look down again, Ben Suraf, that's 3 guards. You had Danny Wolf. I mean, you got a forward out of that eventually, but it was just, Brooklyn, the whole story with the Nets. You count it up. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3. You've got a 4th pick in here. I believe they had another one traded to him that I can't see because I'm blind right now. There you go, Drake Powell, another guard. That's 4 guards in this draft. The whole deal with Brooklyn was they had 5 picks. What would they do with them? And they used all of them and 4 of them on guards. And the worst part was Nets fans are going through it because you're getting guards that are not great shooters either. You're relying
Yeah,
on some of your athleticism and some of that. You can't have 4 guys that do the exact same thing. Unless the Nets are trying to go back to we need to abolish the 3-point line in 5 years or something like that. I have no idea what Brooklyn is planning. I really don't know what in the world they're trying to do over there. You had 5 picks, you had a great opportunity to do something, and now you're praying that one of these guys, well, just one, turns out to be something.
well,
Especially with pick number 8. I mean, you could have easily moved up and got a guy that would have been a more for sure thing. Like with those many picks and at 8, you could have jumped the Pelicans for Fears. You could have jumped the Wizards for Johnson. You could have gotten to the 4 or 5 range and got Bailey if you really wanted to take that chance as well. So I mean, to settle for this and the opportunity that was there going into draft night, yeah, there's nothing else but anger there for Nets.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, you know what's even
you have the full war chest available at your disposal, and they just okay, we're just gonna hold pat. I don't understand it. I mean, Tyler, you come from Mister Sam Presti, Mister All the Picks in the World himself. I mean, if it was your situation where you had 5 picks in the first round, which Oklahoma City will probably get there one day. I mean, Lord, you guys need to use some of those, but just I don't know how you would feel about it if the Thunder pulled something off like this, where you had 5 picks, had a great opportunity to move up, and just decided no.
well, first of all, Sam Presti wouldn't let that happen. I mean, look at this draft. He had 15 and 24. He used 15, said, okay, we'll flip 24 for some more picks down the road. He would
Exactly.
have flipped, at least 3 of those picks by this point already. Uh, but no, for, Brooklyn, even if you don't flip any of those picks, like the way you selected, you ran over, all the guards they took. You got Cedric Coward 3 picks later, who, yeah, a little older, but it's like you talk about a guy that could probably fit into what you're doing right now as a forward. And I just, it is head scratching, I see what they wanted Dimon, right? He's a playmaker, he's a great passer, but the shooting side of it, like he's so raw shooting at wise. Even you could argue to a degree, thank Josh Giddey, great playmaker. Shooting's kind of coming along. It's taken him a few years to get there as a shooter. You finally saw in Chicago this last season. He started to flash out a little bit better. But man, it was rough there for a bit. So you're gonna have time to wait around on that guy. I mean, I hope, but oof, that's tough. That is a tough top 10 pick.
Just brutal. I feel bad for Nets fans more than I usually do, and that's saying something. But Toronto, we already talked about a little bit with the Colin Murray Boyle situation. I think it's a good pick if it pans out. Again, that's the whole. If you've seen the clip of him seemingly, I don't know if he's mad. I don't know if he's just glad. We don't know what it is, but him just, I don't know what that is. That could be nothing. That could be the biggest nothing burger of all time, or that could be something really bad. But we've already said our piece about that. Let's get to Houston at 10. Good pick. I like Malawak. I'm sorry if I butcher his name. I've butchered his name how many times this season? I don't know. I think Malawak is right. Malawach, I am so sorry for butchering your name again. But I like the pick for Houston. I mean, just continue. Yeah, like the pick for Houston, but of course it got traded over to Phoenix. Works good for Phoenix. They got the big trade as well to bring in Mark Williams. So that'll Mark Williams. That is his name, right? I'm not going mentally insane, correct? I might be going mentally insane. I might be. See, this is what
Yeah,
happens when we take stuff when I'm on medication. This is very bad.
No, you're right.
I'm right. Okay. Okay. Good. Sometimes this happens. This is why I love doing this channel. This is why we do everything in one take. You can see me be an idiot in real time and forget people's names. But a great pick for Phoenix that they get out of this. The whole joke. We talked about this even in the Kevin Durant video. You go from having all guards, no bigs, to now you've got some center depth. Now you have a lot of pieces you can play with. I know they're going to let Bull probably walk in free agencies, the report I saw. So I'm intrigued to see how Phoenix wants to play this out. And the Suns might actually, come out of this as best as you can, which is still not great, but it's better than where they were a few days ago.
yeah, for sure. I thought the Suns had a great draft. I think they really figured some things out and fixed some important needs through this draft. To your point, Cade, we talked about it with how big of a guard roster they had, and they get this pick there. They sure up the center position, and we'll see where it takes him, and we'll see. I think with how thin they are at the position, you could see him go in and start from day one, and learn a lot from the team, from what's given, and I think from an overall team standpoint that this helped them get to the next level. And we talked about before, I was a really big fan of them trading up again, Rasheer Fleming as well. So I think I don't think the Suns are done yet. I mean, we talked about it too. We'll see if they try to move on from other guys that have been there a while, like a Beal, to continue growing again. But we'll see what happens. But you know, I would not be surprised to see him take over. Maybe not this year because of Mark Williams, like you said, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him go out there and get a starting role here shortly.
And what's fun about it, we were just questioning the Suns the other day of, hey, where do you go from here? And what a draft to turn that around, at least give yourself a good foundation to start kind of putting those pieces together. It's going to take a couple of drafts. It's going to take some more moves with the current guys you got on the roster to figure out how you could really, reconstruct this thing. But yeah, all in told, Suns, pretty good job. Pretty good job over the course of those 2 days to lay yourself a good foundation.
Yeah, but then we get to pick number 11. If you're Malika Andrews, Portland traded Colin Coward to Memphis, but anyone else is Cedric Coward. So I had to sneak that in there because it was funny. I just thought it was hysterical what had happened. And we've kind of already gone through some of the middle guys here. Tyler, if you want to try to convince us why Thomas Sorber is actually the rookie of the year and Sam Presti's done it again, I'll let you have the floor.
I mean, as much as Thunder fans are, joking, hey, this guy, future NBA champ. I like the Sorber pick just simply because is this a guy that is going to be, um, starting over Chet or Isaiah anytime soon? No, but for what you need right now, I mean, we talked about it on draft night while we were watching. Said, hey, we need big man depth. We just need somebody that can come in 5, 10 minutes, relieve Chet and Isaiah in spurts. It's Sorber, good defensive base for him. Probably, one of the tougher defenders in this class is a big man, good passer. He gets boards, finish a little bit around the rim. Nothing flashy from his game. I don't know if he's a guy that's even on the roster in 5 years. We'll see. But has that long wingspan, so I think he's going to fit what the Thunder do right now. A good guy, to just kind of keep on your team on a rookie contract. That's what the Thunder are at right now. How many guys can you fit on this team around SGA, J Dub, Chet down the road that are going to be on rookie contracts that contribute to you? Because that's what you're going to need to keep the thing going.
Then we got to get to pick 16 because pick 16 might be the unironic steal of the draft. One Mr. Young Hansen. I'm already sold. He said his 3 favorite things to do are to eat, sleep, and play his PS5. If that's not a future MVP, I don't know what is. He's the people's champion. Portland wins the draft. I don't care. They win. It's over. Shut it all down.
Probably the surprise pick of the first round, right? Because he was, Cade, you told us what he was like the third lowest projected center.
Yeah, he was projected maybe mid second round at best. And that was a normal observation for him. But I've seen, what did I see? I opened up Twitter the other day, and the first thing I saw was we got Chinese Jokic. So you know what, Portland fans, go crazy. I support you in your endeavor of trying to claw your way back into the playoffs.
They're clinging on for something, but you already got Donovan clinging on this team. Like, how's this guy fit
you
in?
still have Ayton as well. Like, I don't know what Portland's plan is, but maybe they're just going to unveil the world's first 4 center lineup. I don't know. It might work.
Oh man, but it goes to
what? What'd you say, Andrew?
They're gonna reinvent basketball.
There you go. Reinvent the game.
Yeah, we've had the 4 guards around 1 center. We're doing the 4 centers around 1 guard. That's
yeah. This is the next stage of basketball. But Walter Clayton Jr. Yeah. We've already talked about him a little bit going to Utah. I like the pick for the Jazz. I really do. I expect the Jazz to try to move around some of the positions they have. Will we see Colin Sexton as a member of the Jazz next year? I don't think we do. I think they're trying to move him around. We've already talked about the Nets a little bit. Let's go to Yakushionis with Miami because this feels like a Miami pick, does it not? Like, this is a guy that's, very talented, starts sliding in the draft a bit, and Miami's right there to pick him up, give him a few years to develop, and I think he can fit right in for the Heat.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree. I agree with you. He's got experience in a good conference. Got to play in the Big Ten last season, and to your point, I mean, he started the fall. I think some people I thought he was gonna go higher than this pick. So I mean, I think he's gonna go in there, make noise with Miami, and this gives them the opportunity to they're always in the trade rumors, trying to make other trades as well. So I think this gives them an opportunity. He's similar to some of the guys they already have. So this gives them an opportunity to move and maybe make a splash for a better player down the road here in the off season, and then make this guy an immediate impact player for him.
Yeah, and I wonder, Andrew, and you could kind of comment on this, like, did he fall because late season he started to struggle a little bit more? Because teams took notice of him a bit more later in the season, and he started to have some more struggles. Which I mean, look, he's a kid. It's not easy to just do that. But is that one of those reasons, or was it because at times he wasn't as efficient? That's what I'm kind of trying to figure out with him. Why did he fall? And you play that game all the time and may not find an answer, but I think that would be curious. Um, kind of see how this plays out long term because if he does turn out to be a really good player, you're going to look at all these teams in between, you know, 10 and 20 and say, well, why did you take this guy? The writing was there. He was projected as, potential top 10 talent. So that'll be the one that I'm really interested to watch.
Yeah, I think for sure that's part of the reason why I fell. But I mean, for him, it's such a tough spot because the whole team kind of just fell off as well,
Yeah.
and like they really went into the March Madness struggling. And obviously, that's when you want to see these players elevate their game to the next level, and that's what teams are looking for. So yeah, I think that definitely plays a factor into it. And I just think that team was a tough read as a whole because of how bad they all went in there. But yeah, if you're to your point though, I mean, if he gets right, and here's the thing, it's not like he's going to a team you can't trust to develop him, right? He's going to Miami, who's known for
Yep.
developing these guys. So I mean, I think this is Kate's point too. I mean, it's the perfect fit for them and perfect pick. I mean, it's just such a Miami pick, and full faith for them to get him right.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be crazy to see. Kind of continuing to bounce on through the first round here. Asa Newell going to Atlanta. I always find that interesting when you get a guy that plays at Georgia and gets to go to Atlanta. You don't see that happen a whole lot. I feel like where you get one guy who goes to this college there, gets to stay in that state for the professional team. That could be a fun story. We'll see what ends up happening there. Jace Richardson going to Orlando. I like that pick for Orlando. I think he was fun to watch at Michigan State. I think he could do good things there. And then really the only other one, the two more we've got to talk about here since we've already been through the Nets disaster. Liam McNeely falling all the way to 29 to Charlotte. He was the kind of the last man standing of that green room. And then Yannick Conan Niederhauser. Best name I've ever heard. Again, amazing. Wins the draft on his name alone.
Yeah, Niederhauser's kind of an interesting pick. They were talking about, as he's getting picked, of um, one of those guys that is not necessarily a late bloomer, but like really started to find himself over this last year or so, in terms of what he can be. And so we've seen this in drafts past where you get some of these end of first round guys that kind of get taken a little early, maybe, um, that ultimately wind up popping because they started to peak at the right time in their careers, right? As they're figuring out themselves. So he's one of those that could fly into that category. Look at what he could do. Decent frame, 6'11", 243. Showed a couple different strengths. So, that will be interesting. Other than that, like McNeely falling kind of makes sense. We talk about struggles with efficiency for him a little bit, so maybe teams are a little hesitant with that. I didn't see anything too ground shaking though in the back half of that first round. The Ace will pick. I mean, I think he's a good player, so that's not bad for Atlanta to pick him up there late.
I think for the late round, it was a perfect pick for Niederhauser. A guy that's developing. I think he needs to add some physicality. I think he kind of got pushed around a little bit in the Big Ten, and I think obviously that's one of the better basketball conferences. Now you're going to the NBA, going to the next level. So I would want to see him. That's the big thing. I want to see him in the summer league kind of work on is working hard and getting some tough rebounds there, and just working on not getting pushed around a little bit down low. I think that's his biggest thing, and if he can work on that, I think he could have went higher. And I think he was projected early second round. So some might view this as a little bit of a reach, but again, it's the last pick of the first round. I think it's worth that risk if you can get him right.
It's no Yang Hansen pick.
That's true. That's true.
Right?
Not my goat, Young Hansen. Not my goat. But I mean, just the other thing that's crazy to me, and this is not anything new, but it's something that always stands out to me as funny that, we go through the ESPN little draft picker here. Once you get after pick 10, just about everybody is traded from somewhere. That's just, I know that's not a new thing, but it's always crazy to see just, that first 9 picks are kind of normal. Everyone got there by themselves. But after that, just the madness is on. Everybody's going somewhere. And that brings us to the second round, where I mean, picks get traded on the fly. Everyone's for themselves. Hopefully, some of these guys continue to make it here in the league. Some of them, unfortunately, will not. They'll go overseas or go do something else. But we got to start with Rasheer Fleming because I mean, that's a guy, St. Joe's. I mean, that's your neck of the woods, Andrew. You were high on Fleming. Maybe we'll see. We'll see if we can get Andrew back. Oh, yeah. We'll see if we get Andrew back. But I know he was high on Fleming. That was something we talked about.
Yeah.
Kalkbrenner going to the Hornets. That'll be good for them. That was one where I know it was funny seeing the report that the Lakers trade into the second round and go up higher to get Kalkbrenner. Then he goes 10 picks higher. That was one of those fun stories. Jedi Broom going to the Sixers. That'll be another one we'll ask Andrew about when he gets back. But the Lakers, I mean, they still got a pretty good pick, a good second round pick in Thiero from Arkansas, who's one of those athletic guys, one of those really can do all type of things, something that the Lakers need to continue to really have because we talked about it how many times. That was the struggle of the Lakers, just trying to build up that front court, build those wings up a little bit more besides Luka. There's a report Dorian Finney-Smith might be a free agent again, so we'll see what the Lakers continue to do here. But, other good guys, Chaz Lanier, going to the Pistons. I like that pick I like Chaz Lanier a lot. I mean, I enjoyed watching him at Tennessee this season. But some of these other guys, Kobe Brea, traded to Phoenix. Again, we've talked about Phoenix already, what they've had. You get a great shooter in Brea. He'll be fun to watch. But you continue to go through more of the second round, and it's always funny how this works. Because then you get to some guys you have absolutely no idea. You didn't know they existed, some of these guys. Like you look at the Bucks here, good old Bogolu Markovic here. No one knew he existed besides scouts. And I always find it funny, and this is where being kind of the more common fan falls into place where you get to some of these guys and it's just like, who? Who is that?
Yeah.
That guy exists. That's a person. Okay, cool. I'm glad my team picked. He's great now. I love him.
Well, and it's what's fascinating to me, Cade. You get those type of picks, and then you get in the second round also the mix of the guys that were productive in college but are also old, right? So that's how you get like a Draymond in the second round over these last 10 years or so. You see more and more of those guys migrate to the second round rather than late first because you've got more of these teams kind of taking shots on certain guys late in the first. So I'm sure looking at some of these names that we've run through, somebody from the second round is going to pop, maybe a couple. It's a pretty solid collection of guys that from the college side of it that you can say, hey, they flashed some tools, they were productive throughout their career. So I'm curious to see which one pops out though. That's the tough part. Like you got a couple options, but I'm really curious to see which one pops out and says, okay, hey, I'm going to make it as a second round pick.
Yeah, that I'm excited to see. I mean, I'm always excited to see it. Somebody always develops from the second round and becomes that guy where you go, why didn't we draft him? What the heck are we doing? Well, no one besides that organization had that much faith in him to do it. I mean, you get some guys like Tyrese Proctor in here for Cleveland. That's a good pick. That was a guy I know a lot of Mavs fans were trying to. Can we please get him? Duke guy, teammate of Flag. You can go through the list. You get some of the fun guys. Shulga at VCU going to Orlando. Jamal Meshack right at the end. Of course, the Knicks they had to forfeit their second round pick because they tampered to get Jalen Brunson. How dare they? So all we're going to do is make them take a second round pick away. What a big punishment that is. I mean, that's very funny to me.
Okay, do we have Andrew back?
Let's see here.
I think so.
There we go.
Yeah.
We got Andrew back. You gotta love technology. Gotta love technology. But Andrew, we were talking.
I haven't moved, so I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I don't know either. But we'll go back to the top. Tyler and I kind of went through the second round on our own here. But I know Rasheer Fleming, that was a guy you were high on. Traded to Phoenix, first pick of the second round.
Yeah, no, I really like Fleming. I thought he could have went late first round, and I thought he should have. He's a very good player. He got multiple tools. He has good size there for a power forward or small forward, kind of mainly power forward, but whichever one you want to mix him with. And I think the Suns give him a spot to go out there and I think it's a good spot for him because he'll have an opportunity to kind of make an impact right away. I think it's not someone that's going to sit around and get a little bit of G League time for a little bit. I mean, with the moves we've already talked about the Suns making, I think it gives them a chance to use him right away. And he's got a giant wingspan, and I think he's definitely in their future. And you see that by them trading up.
Then, we kind of talked about it a little bit. Kalkbrenner going to Charlotte, the Janai Broom going to Philly. I know that was just something Tyler and I were talking about. I know, Andrew, when we were talking about it earlier, you were pleased with the Broom pick. You like that pick. Go get a guy who's the National Player of the Year. Go get a guy that has won a lot and knows how to win. And hopefully, I would think that's a good fit for Philadelphia.
Yeah, like you guys were just talking about too before I came back on with, getting older guys in the second round and guys that are ready to play in the NBA right away because of the experience they've had throughout their collegiate career. And I think this is one of those picks you could see. I mean, it's a guy that, was runner up player of the year guy. I think he's 22 turning 23 already by the end of the summer. So I think he's a guy, again, he's been around basketball for a while and very physical player. And I kind of want to see, I think he's a little undersized for a center. So I want to see if the Sixers maybe can try to develop him into a more of a 4 spot and see where that goes. It would be my hope for that spot.
And then while we've got you back here, Andrew, is there anyone else really the second round that stands out to you? I know we've talked about Thiera, we've talked about Chaz Lanier, kind of talking about some of the SEC guys, Kobe Brea, someone like that. Of course, when you got a guy like Rocco Zakarski, again, amazing name, should be a all first team NBA name team if we had one of those. We got to get Adam Silver to do that. If we can have so many other things, we can have an all name team. I think that'd be a great addition to the NBA, personally.
Right? I'll give a shout out to this guy because he's actually, Kate, I know you go to a lot of the games here in Alva. He actually played in Alva before. I don't know if you recognize the name, but Talion Peter, drafted forward to the Pacers. He started at Arkansas Tech and then transferred to Liberty. So we got to see him play firsthand.
There we go. That's like what was it? My high school coach played against Derek White in college. That was one fun story. If we're talking about those stories the other day, that was back when he was on the Spurs. He's like, yeah, I played against that guy, Derek White. And, at the time, nobody knew Derek White would become the Derek White we have now, except for Derek White and the Boston Celtics. But it's always funny how that works. There'll be a guy or someone like that a few years later, oh, yeah, I did see that guy play before. That's always a fun story there. But, I mean, what a good draft. At the end of the day, there was not as much drama. I think this is the problem I always have with certain people. People want to hype the draft up as like, dude, there's going to be 8 trades that everyone's getting traded during the draft. I can't remember the last time we had a draft where there was some earth-shattering trade that happened. But it's always fun to see people kind of hype it up. And this will be my complaint. And you two have already heard it, and we've discussed it before. Can the first round not be 3.5 hours? This is ridiculous to start the draft at 7 our time, keep in mind. That's 8 Eastern. And be done at 10:30 or 11:30. To me, like, there are 30 teams. You get 5 minutes each. This should not be longer than 2.5 hours. I am sorry. We do not need to have every player get interviewed and hear about their family. I just want to know if they can play or not. That's what we're all watching it for. It's a great story and everything, but you can do that the entire week before.
Well, I hope you didn't have the NHL draft on then last
I did. I did. It was annoying too. It was the worst thing I think I've ever seen.
They had the draft house and everything, so
they did. It was just, man, that if the NBA ever adds interviewing the GM 5 seconds after they draft a guy and making the player talk to the GM through a giant screen, I'm actually going to lose it. I'm actually going to call Adam Silver. I will find a way.
I think that'd actually be better because then with like the Ace Bailey situation,
that would be funny. That would be funny.
But great TV, or Brooklyn trying to explain Igor Dimmon, or even better, you try to get the Hodson pick explained by Portland. That would be fantastic too.
That would be fantastic. But I don't know. Some of those would be funny. You get to the second round. All right.
Or the Raptors. Or the Raptors. You know, the first hand after he screams that.
Actually,
Are you actually mad or you just happy to get drafted?
I take it back. We can do the interviews, but have them on a separate chat. Have interviews only on like ESPN2 or something. I take it back. It's actually a funny idea. You've convinced me.
We could swing it around.
There we go.
We can swing it around. Hockey, it's not quite as crazy because it's kind of like NFL. Those guys can be great, but there's so many of them in terms of that have to contribute to a winner. NBA, like this guy could be, the sole person on your team that's the face of the franchise for 10 years. So I bring it on. I want to see it, and then I want to see the fans get a chance to respond. That'd be great.
Yeah. Gosh, could you imagine if they did? They interviewed the GM and then they interview a random fan there at Barclays and be like, "Okay, how do y'all feel about this?" God, that Adam Silver, hit us up. We've got great content ideas.
$1 million ideas for it.
Yeah, $1 million. Pay all of us $1 million for this idea. It would be great. But man, I mean, a good draft as always. Like I said, a lot of fun stuff that happens into it. Folks, as always, if you've made it all the way, I mean, I get this is a long video for us. This is 40 minutes. Usually our football videos go this long, never a basketball video. But if you've made it this far and are somehow still watching this, we do appreciate it a lot. We sincerely do. I mean, we're over 150 subscribers, slowly trying to get to 200. Slowly but surely, we will get there. You could be a part of that. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, leave a comment down below. All of those little things, they don't seem like a lot. They're free to do. They only take 2 to 3 minutes of your day, but it does mean a lot to us. If you're listening over on Spotify, give us 5 stars over there. But folks, until next time, the off season is here. And it's going to be crazy as always. So we'll be here to cover it. And then it'll be NFL season almost. And also baseball's still happening. Sports never sleep. They never sleep. They never go away. It's a year-round cycle. You got to love it. But folks, until next time, have a good one, everybody.